Emily's love interest. So this is probably the most like vague and waitlist weird one that I could add to this entry, but I guess that's exactly why it's at the bottom here. And I like where I first got this idea was from like paying attention to the "Somebody Loved Me" sequence. And this is the image that I included for the final layer on the actual chart for this, is that if you look when the room like transitions from like the old to the new version, you can see a photo of supposedly Emily with somebody else. Somebody who loves her, but we don't know who this is. Like, you can't all get like a good look at them. And like just noticing that for the first time really intrigued me. Like, I don't even know if this is like a love interest. It could just be a good friend for all we know. But I don't know. I just immediately kind of interpreted it that way, and I feel like it's more interesting to see this. And it's especially interesting if you're somebody who believes the theory that Emily is Andy's mom. But yeah, like next time you're just looking at that scene, kind of pay attention to the image and notice it and think about it, because it's probably this person that caused her to like drift away from like all that stuff she was into as a kid. How the sequel would have turned out if Toy Story stuck to the Black Friday reel style. Isn't that a mouthful? So let me explain. We already know how Toy Story 2 was originally going to be like a straight-to-the-video sequel. And that's not talking about this. I mean, maybe if it stuck to this way, it would have become straight-to-sequel. I mean, straight-to-video, like, just barely earning a sequel, because who knows how the first story would have turned out if it went this way. And to explain better, the Black Friday reel, I'm sure most of you probably know what this is. Look it up if you don't, but this was like an old draft of the first Toy Story movie where the characters were like a lot more mean and aggressive and shit, and you can like find like a scene that they showed as a demo with like voice acting and stuff for this, like particularly the part where Woody throws Buzz off the window. And after that, they're like, no, the characters need to be actually fucking likable, let's change this. And I don't know, this is like inferring, like it delves into the first movie a lot too, and could just been an entry for like an Iceberg about the first movie, but yeah, this is like inferring like, what if they decide not to make that change, and what if they like completed the movie in that like early version of the first movie, and they left the characters and designs and stuff that way. And what if it just performed well enough where straight to video or not, Disney or Pixar was like, okay, make a second one. How would have that affected the second film? Yeah, it's interesting to think about, isn't it? It's like some really fucking wacky, crazy, alternate universe shit. Even deeper than when I talked about last layer of the other toys joining Andy's room. Luxo Sr. VHS logo. This is something that has been perplexing me almost all of my life, basically, and this is the entry that I really needed to include for myself, as it's the most personal one. So I watched this all the fucking time when I was like super little, and it was on VHS where I was doing that. This could have been for the first movie, but I didn't watch that as much as the second one. I'm like more leaning that this definitely had to be the second movie. And you know how like on the VHS tape, like in the beginning they play the Luxo Jr. short. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm like positive I'm not mistaking it with this, and I don't think I'm confusing it with anything else. And you know how the usual Pixar logo was Luxo Jr. like hopping on the eye, and yeah, I'm definitely not mistaking it for this either. What I remember is just like a normal still image logo of the tall lamp, Luxo Sr. I'm calling them. And apparently they were voiced by Mel Brink, but who knows, or if that was Junior. But anyway, that's off topic. But yeah, I just remember like a dark image on the screen and mostly white, I think, if not all white imagery of like the Pixar logo or something, like words that might have said Pixar or something like that. And just like behind that was like the tall lamp kind of like looking down at it, like all in the center. And I can't fucking find this anywhere, but I still remember how it looks, and other people found it interesting at the very least. And you know, I tried looking for this on YouTube, like both the intros to like VHS tapes to the first and second one, can't find it. I checked the credits of the second one to see if it like happened there instead. I can't find it. I fucking bought the VHS again. I had like the clamshell one, like the one that you see all the time with like Woody, Jesse, and Buzz on the cover, and I got that baby for a fucking dollar, but I'll talk about more of that later when it's appropriate. But I don't know where my old VHS tape is. Like, apparently it might be somewhere. If not, I don't know, then some fucking jerk threw it away, as people do to kids, and I don't know where it is, but this is definitely the same version that I had, and I mean, if it does show up somewhere, that'd be pretty cool, because it's personally, like, special, and I guess I could give the new copy to a friend. It was only $1. But yeah, I played that tape, and I couldn't fucking see it, so maybe the real answer here is fucking every VHS of Toy Story 2 is personalized. Experiencing extreme and memorable visual ASMR as a little kid. Here it is, the thing I mentioned since the very first entry of this Iceberg. And this, to me, also hits super fucking personally. But everybody else who saw this as a little kid knows exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, if you saw this as, like, a small child, you're probably right now like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about here. You're probably thinking of scenes right now that do this for you. And, like, these always stuck with me, and, like, to this day, like, the scenes stick out to me because I just remember them so well in my head from being a little kid and just being mesmerized by them. And, like, it's not, like, really just, like, that they're satisfying to look at to be, like, anime and shit like that. Like, it's just something more than that. And the way I described it once is, like, it's just stuff that, seeing it, it made my brain go, like, ooh, and I don't know, like, it's just something that was, like, very pleasing, and, like, it's almost like getting, like, a high or something, but just so fucking super subtly, and I can't really explain this well, almost if you just know what I'm talking about and feel it for yourself. Like, I would probably be here all day if I listened to the scenes to it, but there's just so much to this to me, like, the intro of, like, Buzz throwing shit and jumping on the platforms and stuff, and, like, the fucking nightmare Woody has where he's, like, being dragged down. There's, like, the hands grabbing him, and the Geary scene, obviously, Geary, whatever. And, like, one that's, like, particularly, like, stuck out to me that I think other people felt was the scene where, like, Al drops the bowl of, like, cheese puffs or Cheetos, whatever you want to call them, and just, like, the way they were, like, arranged and scared on the ground and how they looked, and, like, even just, like, Mr. Potato Head getting, like, the gum stuck on the bottom of his foot and, like, it getting pulled off and shit. And also, like, the way they're, like, arranging things, like, at the airport and, like, the balls dropping off the one bag. And, I don't know, there's just so fucking much to me that just, like, mesmerized and, like, really pleased my head to look at. And, yeah, I don't know, but, like, I mean, this is something that everybody can get the idea of, like, what I'm trying to explain, and but, like, the thing is, like, that's just it. It's, like, so fucking hard to explain and, like, pinpoint on, like, why this is a thing, but, yeah, everybody understands it, and I don't know, like, if I can still get the exact same feelings as I did as a little kid, or if it's just something that's not exactly the same, like Pete's turn being a surprise, but, yeah, like, that's just such, like, a fun and curious, interesting thing to talk about, even if it's, like, not so dark. It's definitely mysterious and super fucking interesting. But yeah, that does it for the Toy Story 2 Iceberg, I believe, and I'm really glad that you listened to this whole thing, and I hope you enjoyed it and understood my weird ramblings, especially near the end here. And, well, next up is immediately another Iceberg series, so I'll see you then. Take care.